Sheriff, I'm having a hard time with this. White lives matter, black lives matter, Asian lives matter, Hispanic lives matter, blue lives matter. What is so controversial about saying all lives matter?
Nothing surprises me. These are slimy people that are attached to this hateful ideology. The phrase Black Lives Matter suggests racial superiority. That's why I call it racism. They also preach hate and violence in the name of virtue.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote passionately about the interrelatedness of all communities and states and about our inescapable network of mutuality tying us in a single garment of destiny.
Today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. Now, this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
And Black Lives Matter transcends peaceful protest and violates the code of conduct we rely on. I call it anarchy.
Yes, this is part of a pattern now, and you'd have to stick your head in the sand to think that this thing here wasn't fueled by this vile, vulgar, slimy movement. This group, it is a conglomeration of misfits, malcontents, underachievers. This group is comprised of original members of the Occupy movement, cop haters, black racialists, anarchists.
So just as I told Beyonce, start at home and stop blaming police officers for the problems in black neighborhoods. And when it comes to our national anthem, fall all the way back.
Just another classic example of total racist denial from white people who spend more of their time focusing on the protest rather than what's being protested. Ask Colin Kaepernick. Why do white people act this way? I'll tell you why. It's because they can't fathom the idea that it's not about them. It's not about them. They can't fathom the idea that it's even real. Because you see, this stuff doesn't impact their lives any, and they've never seen it. The fact is, 3 out of 4 white people don't have a single close friend who isn't white. So first of all, how would they know about racism? How would they know about systematic racism? They don't know anybody who it impacts. It certainly doesn't impact them. They don't even know a single person who's affected by it. But these protests are something different. These protests do affect and bother the white people because, you see, it yanks them right out of their comfy little spot of being able to ignore it all. Yanks them right out of their comfort zone, and they have to see it and talk about it, and they don't want to see it, and they don't want to talk about it. To put it bluntly, if all lives really mattered equally, then Black Lives Matter campaign wouldn't need to exist. You see, if you're white, your life always mattered. It already matters, and it always mattered. Your life, you can go about living your life completely unaffected by racism, and you can remain completely ignorant about the racism around you. Our country, think about it, our country was founded by white people conquering people of color, Native Americans, and then built by Africans who were kidnapped by the white people. They did it to build their country. So this is just the way it is. Is it really that shocking that in 2016, we have a presidential candidate who's built his entire platform campaign around our culture of hatred? And it's working because, after all, there's a huge market for it. Did you really think that when slavery was made illegal and it ended, that all of a sudden white people were going to go, oh, cool, we can act like they're all humans now, even though before they were like not humans, but now they are humans? Did you really think that because a law told them to treat people like humans that they would do it? I mean, you see these Confederate flags waving around, and basically to me that's just saying, we may have lost the war, but we haven't lost the hatred yet. See, most white people are under this false impression that what they learned in school after emancipation, about history and about after emancipation, was actually all there was to it. And the truth is, did you really think your whitewashed history texts were going to tell you everything? If you don't know what redlining is, if you think the Devil's Punch Bowl is some sort of drink you have at your next Halloween party, then you have no idea.
A mass grave from the 1860s. Historians estimate that in 1 year, up to 20,000 freed slaves died in contraband camps below these bluffs.
When the slaves were released from the plantations during the occupation, they overran Natchez, and the population went from about 10,000 to 120,000 overnight.
So they decided to build an encampment for them at Devil's Punch Bowl, which they walled off and wouldn't let them out.
He says Union troops ordered recaptured black men to perform hard labor.
Straight down right here.
While women and children were all but left to die in the 3 Punch Bowl prisons.
Disease broke out among them, smallpox being the main one, and thousands died. They were begging to get out, turn me loose and I'll go home back to the plantation, anywhere but there. But they wouldn't let them out.
The Union Army did not allow them to remove the bodies from the camp. They just gave them shovels and said, bury them where they drop. It's a bed of alligators and snakes. It would take Indiana Jones to get back in there at this point.
Then you come on up Washing Away Bluffs and at the Devil's Punch Bowl that has so many people that no one knows how they got killed or when, and they're still down there wasted.
And even to this day, they talk about wild peach trees that come up down there, but no one in Natchez will eat them because they know what the fertilizer was.
If you don't know what black codes were, Jim Crow laws, if you didn't know that 1 out of every 4 emancipated slaves died terrible deaths soon after emancipation from starvation in America, from starvation and disease. If you didn't know that thousands and thousands of innocent people were lynched in front of huge cheering crowds of people just because of the crime of being black, if you didn't know that, then you don't know. These were vigilante groups. They would capture and hang black people and watch and cheer with their children right there. If you don't know all this stuff, you have no idea about the culture of hate that we've lived in for hundreds of years, hundreds and hundreds of years. You don't know about the culture of oppression that makes our modern culture of systematic racism today. You know, you might want to do some research and then come back to me and tell me all about how all lives matter.